Have you ever wanted to talk to your younger self and tell them that everything was going to be okay? I'm going to be so real with you. This is something that I have been educating myself on for so long, and I'm so excited to be finally able to talk about it. We are talking about the concept of your inner child. Does your inner child actually matter? And I'm gonna start off by saying this one thing. It does. It matters, and I think that everybody should kind of be a little bit educated about this. Sometimes a lot of people think that they know what their inner child is, but I'm gonna be real with you, a lot of people don't. A lot of people get the regular kind of gist, it's a younger version of you, right? But I'll tell you this one thing, I think when it comes to healing and becoming a better person, it's not just about the younger version of you. And it's a version of you that holds all of your trauma responses. It is the wounded parts of yourself that play a part in the decisions that we make right now. And it'll play a role in every single person. People don't have to be life-changingly traumatized for their inner child to matter to them. It matters to everybody. And I'll tell you this because I know that it has affected me. I honestly, the last couple months, not even couple months, like since January, February of this year, I have taken a step back and looked at the way I respond to certain things and why I do. And I'll say this is not because I wanted to, more of there were a series of events that took place that forced me to turn around and be like, okay, what do I need to change so that this doesn't happen again? This is when I came across the concept of an inner child and why it matters so much and why you need to spend time healing that inner child, because that poor thing is suffering inside of you, you know, going through the life that you're living right now. It hurts. I was watching a video a couple months ago. This woman talks about the concept of an egocentric, and this is very psychology, okay? She says that an egocentric is kind of like a point of view that takes place between birth to like age 7. It's like a filter that sorts all of the experiences that happened during that age period. So I'll give you an example. When I was younger, when I moved to where I'm living now, right? Before I moved, I didn't have a issue building connections, like interpersonal connections, like making friends. In fact, I had a lot of them. I was what you would call at that point, you're a very well-known kid. I did not struggle with self-image. I did not struggle with making friends. I did not struggle with keeping up with those relationships. When I moved, all of that kind of disappeared. And when I moved to where I live now, everybody was already friends with everybody else. And yes, did I have friends? I did. Am I still friends with those people? No, I'm not. I struggled with that, and I still do for a very, very long time. And I talk a little bit more about this like in Is It Really That Bad to Be Alone episode, because that's something I struggled with for so long, and I was young while going through that, and it was a shock for me. I always thought, because I was the outsider, that it was my fault. I blamed myself for it, and I thought that I built this kind of front where it was like, I hate getting hurt like this, and if I ever felt like the other person was pulling away, I would pull away even faster in order to prevent myself from getting hurt by seeing them leave first. And very unhealthy thing to do. I would do this when there were other things that were happening in my life, and I felt like I couldn't reach out to those people that I had and tell them what was going on, because I felt like I would either be judged or they wouldn't help me get through it. So my response would be, okay, let me just pull away so that I no longer have an obligation to be or keep up that relationship anymore. And it hurt me, and I hurt a lot of other people like that. Humans make mistakes, so have I forgiven myself? But that is now how I respond. That is how my inner child responds. That is the trauma response that my inner child holds. It is the little human inside of me, and it is holding all of those experiences that I went through. And when it happens to me again now, that is how I'm conditioned to respond, because that's how the little me inside thinks that I should respond. Now, here's how you get over it, because you can't make excuses for this type of thing. You need to understand what you went through, and you need to understand why you're responding the way that you are responding. So think about your inner child as somebody else, not you. Because the thing that I noticed a lot, especially with me, is that when other people come to me with problems and I tell them the best advice that I can tell them, but then when I come to myself with the same problem, I guilt trip myself into thinking that I'm the problem and it's all my fault and I should be taking all the blame. We're gonna pretend like our inner child is somebody else that's coming to you for advice. And you're going through the situation that you're going through right now. What will you tell that poor little child, you know, that is low-key kind of traumatized? And what will you tell them? And then you're going to put yourself back in their shoes and you're going to take your own advice. Because that's what you actually want to tell yourself. That is what you know inside is the best thing that you can do in a situation, because that's either all you know that you can do or what you think is the best thing that you can do, and you can't guilt trip yourself into thinking, no, I know that I can do this, I can do something else, but I'm not going to do it because, I don't know, like I'm a sadist. Like, that's not how this works, right? You need to be like that little person inside of you wished it had somebody to guide it through everything that it was going through. Be that person for them when you're going through a similar type of situation in your life right now. Act like it's not yourself. These reactions are coming from a very old, hurt part of yourself that does not reflect the reality of what you're actually doing right now. And here's the thing. So many people think that because they reacted like a child, they are childish. And that's not the thing. You can be 28 and have the same trauma response like you did when you were 6 years old, because that is all you know how to respond. Other people aren't going to have the same reaction because they didn't go through what you went through. So there is no reason for you to be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm a child because this is how I responded. Yes. Did you respond childishly? Yes. Is it a horrible thing? No. Is it unfortunate? Yeah. But now it is your job to work on healing your inner child. Because your inner child is the reason that you go through, or, you know, you have a certain reaction to certain situations. You go through those things again as an adult, and you act the same way because that is how you were conditioned to react. You think internally, yeah, this is the right way to react because this is how I've always done it. It's not. Be self-aware. Being self-aware is honestly like the most important thing nowadays. And I really do think a lot of things in your life can be fixed if you're simply just conscious and self-aware. It's difficult to be self-aware in the moment. It's important to condition yourself outside of that situation to become somebody who has a healthy response. Tell yourself that the next time that this happens, you don't have to have the same response because you're not a child anymore. You are much more experienced, you are much more mature, and you know how to respond the proper way. You're not the same hurt person that you used to be. You are much better. You have leveled up, you know, and you have the capability to identify what the healthy response is for that situation. And if you need to, rehearse it. Like, act like it's something, like, don't take it so super duper serious. The minute you start taking something seriously, that's when your anxiety shoots up. So just rehearse it. Just be like, okay, this is what I'm going to say. Say it. Don't say it in your head. Say it out loud, because that's the only way that's actually going to stick in your head. Say it out loud 2 or 3 times. Okay, this is how I'm going to respond. This is how I'm going to keep my emotions in check. I'm not going to start yelling, screaming, because that's how I used to respond when I was a child. Don't be, again, like, don't be intimidated by this process. Stop overthinking it. It is long and it is hard, but you need to have patience with yourself, because who else is going to have patience with yourself if it's not you? You expect someone else to come along and help you figure this out? No, it's you. It's on you. And does that sound like a big responsibility? It does. Because it is. But here's the thing. You're not going to look at it as a huge responsibility because you're going to take small little baby steps to get to where you need to be. The minute you start that, easy to stop, but it's also going to crush you inside if you stop, because you're self-aware. The minute you get to the point where you're starting to take little steps to healing yourself inside, you're going to be self-aware. You're going to start analyzing yourself whether you want to or not. So if you stop, if you stop that process, it's going to eat you up inside because you know that you're not helping yourself. So do you really want to stop? You don't. Again, treat your inner child like it is a small kid. Be gentle. Don't be harsh. When I say it is a big responsibility, I'm not trying to tell you that you need to abuse your inner child, because that's only going to make anything worse. So treat it like it was a different kid. Treat it like it's like a different 5-year-old kid. You're not going to be harsh on a 5-year-old for having a certain response to something that was traumatic. Be soft. It's not a weakness. I promise you, it's not a weakness. So many people think that being emotional and being soft is a weakness, and yes, sometimes it can be. Do you need to learn to keep your emotions in check? You do. But when it comes to yourself and really analyzing yourself and trying to heal, being emotional is part of the process. You can't really avoid it. If you haven't been emotional during the process of trying to fix yourself and being a better person, then you haven't gone through the process at all. I think that's the first thing, is to understand your emotions and why you feel them in certain situations. That's the only way you're going to really connect with your inner child and do all of that shadow work and become a better personality, is only if you understand yourself emotionally and mentally. So don't be afraid of that. It's really not that big of a deal. Don't intimidate yourself by saying that it's that big of a deal. Just relax. That is the inner child for you. Don't hurt yourself in this process. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, there's a much better way you can be doing this without abusing your inner child while going through this. So just don't do it. That is it, though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Have a good day. Have a good night, depending on when you're listening to this. And I will see you next week. Bye.